Today we have with us this beautiful Alfastreet Marine 21 Open. A really nice and also interesting boat because it's fully electric, and we have become a dealer I think last November. So we're not a dealer for that long, and we don't have much experience with boats like this, especially in electric versions. We've just driven it here. I'm thrilled about it. I love it. But let's go on board and let me tell you all about it. Before I go on board, there's some details I'd like to point out. But before I start doing that, we made quite a lengthy video last year where we went through this boat on the Berlin Boat Show, where the boat, by the way, was nominated, was one of the 18 nominees for the Best of Boats awards. It didn't win it, but still it's quite a compliment that a relatively young yard as Alfastreet Marine managed to get this nomination. But here we are, this boat having been built in, of course, a white hull with a light grey deck here, which is spray painted in all grip, which is something special. There are different color combinations available. I think this is a beautiful combination. So here we have it again in the light grey with this upholstery. I think it matches perfectly. There are some nice details that I'd like to point out. You see this decking, which of course is not real teak, it's artificial teak, but I think that also suits the boat. And not only that, it's very practical to get on and off the boat easily. It's automatically non-skid. And below the hatch there, I'll show you in a minute, is of course the anchor winch. But I also like to point out this really nice, I would nearly call it work of art, because it's a nice bow platform, which also protects the anchor, which is going through the hull, which is something special for a boat in this caliber, especially in this size. I never see this, but I think it's beautifully done. Of course, it is not really a cheap solution, but I think it is a high-end boat with a high-end anchor winch solution. There's cleats, and the nice thing about that is that Alfastreet Marine does not simply use standard cleats, but they have something with a, I would call it chafe plate, because normally, and you can see that here, if you moor up and you attach the lines, these are places where mooring lines tend to chafe on the hull, and this helps preventing chafing spots to arise on the hull side. So again, also when using fenders, you see that it's running over the stainless steel here, so that is beautifully done. There's a nice black rub rail on the side here. It is a bit of a sculptured hull. You can see here that there's sculpted hull sides here. I think there's ventilation behind these, and also the rub rail below here wraps all around the big bathing platform on the back. And of course on the bathing platform you also have a proper bathing ladder. It's still fixed, but you can see that it has 3 steps, which I think is enough and also quite good for a boat in this size. Easy to get on and off the boat by using these. So again, a nice solution. And you may see that the bathing platform is actually really big. There's indirect lighting here on the back. You didn't switch it on, it's a beautiful day. but still I think it's a nice detail. There's a walkthrough on the starboard side with a nice door here to close it if you have kids, dogs or whatever, if you want to prevent them from falling off. Again, the perma teak which is used here. Big storage here in the back. There's not a lot to see with regards to the engine, but you do see a charger, and there's an electric motor below the aft of the boat. And you see some nice details such as these supports made in stainless steel, really thoroughly done. And also the supports and the way that the steering has been mounted. The cabling has been done, nicely wired and also fixed like this, so it doesn't fall off also in a long period of time. There's one battery here. I saw a few batteries below there, which I will come to later. Battery charger, main switch, another main switch. I think this one is for the bow thruster. Yeah, well, again, still plenty of room, so you can store your fenders here, lines, anything you might want to bring with you, because there's no engine that is below the boat. Nice stainless steel gas struts, by the way, and also always like these gunnels which drain the water and prevent water from going inside the, I would nearly call it engine bay, but it is more a storage area. Again, I won't go through every detail, but what I have not done in the video, in making the video in Berlin, is show you this area. Let me lift that up. You see two big batteries there. Also here, plenty of room, and drainage has been secured in a way that the water coming in doesn't go in here and makes this cover wet, of course, but it is drained via these drainage holes. There's a bilge pump right there. This being the cover. This is also an area where you could store the optional filler cushion, which can be used as a sunbed. Let me just lower this in the meantime, because the table can be lowered so that you really have a huge sunbed right here. I think it is really nice, really big for about 21 foot in size, because just to remind you, make you look at it differently, usually sloops like this in the Netherlands, when they have an inboard engine, there's a diesel engine right here, which takes away a lot of the space and also is noisy, but we'll get to experience that later. And if you have a boat with an outboard, that is usually in the back here, which also takes away storage space. So the maximum space has been used for other purposes, such as storage. There's a drawer here which is used for cooling purposes, so cold drinks go here. There's further storage right here. There's a toilet below here with a, I would call it, privacy curtain, which can be lifted, but again, I already showed that in the Berlin video. Cup holders, beautiful upholstery, and I think I mentioned it earlier, but really high backrests. This is of course the place where the backrest is the highest, but it just makes you feel very comfortable, so you could sit here for at least a couple of hours without not feeling very comfortable. And also these slightly elevated seating bases make you feel secure and comfortable. But again, this is the highest. But if I go and sit, well, even at the steering position, I think this is the lowest between brackets. I'm saying between brackets because, as you can see, this is still really high. They made this also slightly thinner here and slightly thicker at the bottom, which means that you just feel in a natural position. So sitting here, the ergonomics are really good. There's a footrest here which is slightly angled, made in stainless steel, so attention to detail, high quality materials, a steering wheel with a nice logo, nice patterns in the upholstery. But before I go on, let's go to the bow area, because I didn't show you yet the way the anchor winch has been installed. That has been done right here. A nice Lumar anchor, and I showed that earlier, but it truly is something special, a stainless steel anchor. This is quite costly, but this will last 100 years or more. And not only that, it just makes anchoring a breeze because of the weight. That means that the anchor just drops down and also stays like this instead of being pulled out of the ground on the water like this. So that also helps anchoring safely and securely. So again, a really beautiful solution with this bow platform, and also this anchor roller, which is even a through hole, I should say. Okay, there's 2 speakers, by the way, below here. I do remember from the video in Berlin that I couldn't find the CE plate, but here it is, CE category C, which is fine for a boat like this, and it can carry 8 people, which is quite a lot. There's a bow thruster, controls are here. These obviously are the controls for the engine. Of course, there's switches for navigation lights, switch on the radio. You can also control the anchor from here. There's a horn, anchor light, and again, like I mentioned, there's lights at the back and there's cockpit lights. I don't think you'll see them today, but they're here. Just looking around if there's anything I'm forgetting. I love these decks also, the perma-teak here, which looks like real teak but is not as costly, doesn't hurt the environment, and it's very user-friendly, easy to clean, nice with bare feet, so very practical. And you also see the drainage right here, so I do think the boat is fully self-bailing. And with that, there's one thing left, and that is to take her out on the water, so let's just go. It is a strange experience if you're used to driving boats with huge engines. Some people know I now own an Oxapar 37 with twin V10 engines, which is completely the opposite of a boat such as this one. But I really love this also. I mean, it's so nice and quiet. You hear virtually nothing. Sorry that I have to take my glasses, by the way, because this is getting a bit too much. I want to protect my eyes. But just this experience, sitting here comfortably, going in between these islands in Aalsmeer. Soon we'll hear just birds. You hear the water here on the back. It's a fantastic experience. It's just so smooth and nice. And I've driven the boat today for the very first time. Also, mooring it is really easy. I do experience with some sloops that they have, for example, an outboard, which is underneath here, which is fine in a way. But I tend to find that steering a boat like this while maneuvering can be kind of a challenge. And the way this setup has been done, the propulsion is also used for steering. I find it to be very direct. And also it turns well. It's not that it has huge turns if you want to make a 180-degree turn, or if you go into tight spots like we're actually going to do right now. So again, I really honestly feel that this is a great way of boating, which is completely different from what we usually do. I still love the big outboards, but this is so nice. Being here, well, I would nearly say being one with nature. You just feel the wind, you hardly hear any noise, you hear the birds, you're really 100% involved with all the elements. And imagine being here with a group of friends. Again, it can carry 8 people or so. There's plenty of space. You have a cooler right here. I have a bow thruster. Obviously we're driving, so the effect now is not really good. But you have a bow thruster making mooring easy. If you go to a place like where we were just where we lived, and you want to drop the anchor, I mean, it's just the press of a button, the anchor is dropped. It's a nice stainless steel anchor. There's stainless steel anchor chain. All the details are correct. For example, some people think that that is very logical and normal, but there's 4 cleats on one side. And I mean, keep this in mind if you look at other boats. I'm sure you won't find a 21-footer in this style which has 8 cleats. And not only that, they're stainless steel, 316 quality. They have these nice chafing plates. It's the attention to detail that really pops out. As it happens, I just visited the yard last week. I went there. The yard is in Slovenia. The history of the yard is kind of interesting because Alfastreet is a brand known for gambling machines and roulette tables, and I also saw those facilities. Very impressive. It's a big company. I think they're really successful. Started building boats, I think in 2012, as far as I remember, because mainly it was the passion of the owner, whom I've also met, of course. But I noticed that that is somewhere. I have to be slightly careful here in the meantime. There's boats coming ahead of us. But I just noticed not only his passion, but also his experience. And that is the attention to detail that I was just mentioning, with these nice cleats, the high freeboard with which you are protected. The boat has a dry ride, a huge bathing platform, which of course makes it really nice to be out on the water. As I always say, a lot of being on a boat is not the fun. Not only is being on a boat and actually driving it, but also anchoring, going somewhere for lunch. And for that purpose, this boat is really ideal. You get from A to B in a really nice, smooth, comfortable way, and also cozy. Because, just to mention, sitting here, imagine driving a boat such as this with maybe a 4-cylinder diesel engine. I know from experience that there's many boats, if not all, where if I were to drive like this, I could not talk to the person being right at the bow. But now you actually can. So it's a social boat also in a way. But talking again about my visit to the yard in Slovenia, I went there and I of course had I had some idea on how the yard would be, but I was positively surprised and also impressed by the way Alfastreet Marine are building boats there. What they do is that they have automated a lot of things, if not nearly all, because they use CNC cutting machines. I think they showed us 5 or so, where many parts are cut to the millimeter, really precise. And it's done in a way that, for example, some parts are CNC cut. They go to a next department, which is the spray department, where the boot, for example, is sprayed. Some parts are heated. There's a special oven. There's processes for everything. It is all documented. It's strictly followed. It's a clean yard. They organized their setup in a really nice manner, and it just makes you feel confident about the quality of the boat. Everything is done with this attention to detail, and they use the finest materials. So I really am convinced that this is a great boat and that it will be a success. But of course, it's the experience that matters. And I truly love this experience. And of course, everybody asks with a boat which is electrically propelled, what the range is. And I cannot really tell at the moment, to be honest. But I know that there's around 1,000 amps batteries in this boat, and we're now actually using 56 amps an hour. And of course you could do an easy calculation, but you cannot really calculate the full 1,000 amps slash 100% of the batteries, because you cannot drain them until 0%. but if you use maybe 70%, still there's a really good range. Especially if you drive slowly, then the range really is huge. There's a nice display here, which I think was just shown, where you see the percentage remaining, the current use, the temperature of the batteries I noticed. So also that is done in a nice way. There's, by the way, also audio. I think it's right here. Fusion audio with, of course, the possibility to connect remotely via Bluetooth. There's USB ports right here also. So a well-equipped boat with a really nice experience. So let this video be an invitation to come over and actually test it. I mean, that is the way to experience how nice this is. It may require a different way of boating. You may use it in different waters than what you're used to. But if, like here in the Netherlands, you go in nice sheltered areas, into Amsterdam, into Leiden, where we're close, this I think is the ideal boat. By the way, it's relatively low also. You can have further protection with a small plexiglass window frame at the bow to prevent water from, well, spraying overboard in rough conditions. And of course there's different ways of covering this boat. I'm nearly forgetting the patented hardtop that Alfastreet Marine is well known for. I think a great solution because it both protects you against the sun in really hot climates, and also the ease of use is really nice because if you're done boating, you moor your boat, you press a button, and the roof hydraulically is lowered and simply closes off the full boat. So it's really easy to just leave your boat in the marina without having to use difficult covers, zippers, etc., etc. We didn't choose to have it like that because we have bridges, but of course there's a possibility. And also, if you want to find a compromise, I showed in the video in Berlin that this roof has a section right here in the aft which also opens, so you can have sunshine in a part of the boat if you still use this hydraulic hardtop. So again, you're most welcome to come look and feel and even try the boat here in Aalsmeer at our facilities. But before I close off, we're actually going onto the big lake where there's quite a bit of wind blowing at the moment. Let me speed up in the meantime. I don't know exactly how fast we're going, and that doesn't really matter with a boat such as this. But also in relatively rough conditions with higher waves. And we have the wind in the back now, but of course we came here also with quite a bit of headwind, and it was just fine. It was dry and it just felt comfortable. I wasn't afraid of the battery capacity because you can see the remaining capacity here. Worked out just fine. We're around 70% remaining now, and we already did a bit of driving, so also that is just fine. So I hope I've explained everything and gave you a proper experience. Please come over, keep on watching our videos. See you next time.